so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the P-heads themselves. I am your P-head enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to this show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener Angelique Liston. Angelique is a healer, single mother, and generational pattern breaker who recently walked away from a highly successful six-figure career as a sales rep for some of the largest companies in the aesthetics industry so that she can pursue her passion for healing the heart of humanity through her transformational work, which is largely focused on a modality called EFT, also known as tapping. Hi, Angelique. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alexa. Thank you for having me and everyone out there.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you because as many of you listeners know, if you listen to this segment, you know almost every episode I talk about this amazing EFT retreat that I went on with Sonya Sophia, where I was trained to become an EFT practitioner, and all the amazing people on it. And I finally have one of them on this segment, which is Angelique. She was there with me on the retreat, and we met there, and she's just this truly amazing soul, just amazing sister who I've just, our relationship has just grown over time ever since we left, and she's just doing some amazing things and she's super inspiring. So I wanted to have her on the show, and she's also part of the Positive Heads Facebook group and community. So I just thought it would be a good time to bring her on. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a really exciting time. And it's been an honor to know you and to be part of this community as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been an exciting time for you. So why don't you tell the listeners, maybe give them, your background and your story, and then lead up to what's happening now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So my story is, I'm a single daughter. I grew up as a single child, basically, of a mom who was a bit of a gypsy in a very chaotic family with lots of addiction in my family, lots of incarceration. I grew up with a group of women who weren't able to support themselves other than using their bodies and giving their power away. And so I grew up always searching for something better, something that was healthier. And I had gone through it all. I had gone through religions. I had gone through every possible thing I could find, and still nothing seemed to work. And I had gone through my own dark days. I had definitely reached a point in my life where I was searching for something to heal my broken heart and to heal some of my own destructive behaviors. I had an eating disorder. I was bulimic for a long time. I completely gave my validation and self-worth away over to whoever I was dating, or, if this person liked me, or, about the money I made. So I had this breakthrough or breakdown, however you want to call it. And I started out on a path of searching for something to heal me. And I started off with meditation, and I went to Burning Man, and I walked into a workshop, and Sonya Sophia was leading a tapping circle. That's where I discovered EFT. And so I sat down in the dust, and I tapped on my body, and I thought, I don't know how this is supposed to work, but I'm just going to give it a shot because I'm willing to do anything at this point in my life. And something shifted. In a matter of 2 hours, I completely felt something had changed in me. And so I went back every single day, and I thought, I'm just going to get as much of this in as I possibly can. And I did. And at some point she said, I trained 15 to 20 burners a year how to do this work. And I thought, God, I really want to do that, except I'm a corporate girl. I work in an aesthetic industry where people's facial aesthetics is the priority. And I don't know how somebody like me is going to go be a healer. They probably just take Reiki masters and yoga, instructors. Like, who am I to think that I could ever do work like this? So I started going online and taking the classes, and I decided just to, give it a shot. And I wrote her, and she said, come. And so I went to my first training, and I became an EFT practitioner in training, and then went through the required program, and then discovered that this was actually my life passion and purpose. So that's how I learned about EFT.
Yep. And actually, so when I met you, when was it? May? June? Oh gosh.
Yep.
I don't even
April.
know.
April. We graduated.
Okay. Yes. So you were, you went, was that that was your second time, right?
Yeah, my second time. So by that time I had done the first program plus your hours of training. And then that was my second program.
Yeah. So there was several people at the program that I went to who were back for, a second time. I mean, I think some people went several times because it was just so transformative every time they went. And Angelique was there for a second time. And when we were there, she was talking a lot about the industry she was in, and how grueling it could be, and how, but it was very lucrative for her, and it was something. Well, I'm telling your story. You go ahead. Why don't you talk about?
You're saying it just fine. Okay. I'm first. Let me start off by saying I'm very grateful for the aesthetic industry and for the opportunity I was given when I was hired on. I'm a single mom. I've been a single mother. Since they were born, pretty much, and I don't have any, family support, and I've always had to just make it on my own. And so I was given a chance to work in an extremely lucrative industry, and I loved it in the beginning. I loved everything about it. It was the beauty industry. It was, you're the fountain of youth, and I thought, my God, I will never ever leave this industry. And then something happened in the last year since I've started healing myself and doing this EFT work, where it was no longer available for me to stay there because my heart was no longer in it. And then the other part of my heart was like, yeah, but this is how you pay for your life and for your children and for all the things you do. And how are you going to walk away from that? You might not be able to do all the things that you do currently, and vacations and all the extras. And I had an awakening moment that finally, all of those things didn't matter as much as the ability and the chance to really go do what my heart told me was my truth, which was to focus completely on the healing of humanity through my work and through every client I have and the companies I will work with. I couldn't ignore it anymore. And if anyone's ever experienced this, you can deny things as long as you want to, and you can try to tell the universe, I'm not listening, and it will continue to kick your ass until you do. There'll become a time where you have to listen, or you'll suffer for it. And I had gotten to that point where I just needed to walk away. So a lot of support from many people, and you'll have people who think you're insane, like that you've lost your mind, and what's the plan, and we need the Excel spreadsheet, and how could you do this? They can't even imagine, and it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Yeah. So she just took this leap about a week ago, and more power to you, girl. I'm so proud of you. Because I think a lot of listeners right now are probably like some alarm bells are going off, because, this is something that I see in our Facebook group. I mean, every day, almost, people talking about, I really want to leave. People battling with that decision. And, I think everyone's situation is different, of course. So I'm not saying if you hear this, take this as an absolute sign to, jump off the ledge right now, or not the ledge, just, take the giant leap right at this minute. But, this could, I think people need to hear the stories of people who are doing this and who are going towards their actual calling. And even when it's scary, because the truth is, like, from my perspective right now, society, it's like we've been told we need to eat all this meat, right? For example, we need to eat all this meat, and that feeds that business, right? That feeds the way that we treat animals, that feeds the farming business and the harvesting business and all of that. So, it's like as we all become more conscious and we all become healthier, and maybe we start to eat less meat, right? We don't feed that anymore. We don't feed the way that they do things anymore in that industry. So the way that I see, it's kind of like, I feel like the light workers, right, are starting to kind of wake up and become more conscious. And one by one, they're kind of jumping ship from the corporate, structure. And as we all kind of find the strength and the power within ourselves to do it, because we feel the connection with our heart, and we feel our guidance, and we know that we're not alone, right? And we feel safe enough in a certain way to take the jump. It's kind of like that's how we are going to transition society. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense. And I have to say, I've been doing this work for a little bit. I did both jobs for a really long time. I would see clients and do this work, after hours on the weekends. So there's a transition period, and then you can make the full leap. And then you get to the point, I think you just have to. My thing is, am I going to die? At some point, I'm going to die. And did I look back at my life and go, did I really fulfill my purpose? Did I really even give it a shot? Humanity is calling. The universe is calling for this right now. More than ever, we need more healers. We need more light workers. We need those who step up to the conscious plate and swing for the gate, because it's this is like our society is in desperate need of this now, and we can't ignore it. And I think anybody who's following the conscious path can feel that.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And, why don't you, well, first of all, do you have any, I know this is fairly fresh for you, but anyone who's listening right now who's resonating with this and going like, well, shouldn't I? What, do you have any message for them, or anything, for them to think about, or I don't know, any encouragement for them?
Yeah, I would say that you're going to have to stop listening to everybody else and all of those gargoyles in your mind that are trying to scare you that you're not capable, you're not talented enough, you're not smart enough. This is for somebody else to do. If you have the calling and you hear this, whatever that calling is for you, whether it's having a podcast where you get to share positive experiences, or work one-on-one with clients, or, create software that helps people meditate and drop into the space. Whatever that thing is for you, if it is a consistent and you think of it and it lights you up, follow the light in whatever capacity that you can at this moment. Whether that's quitting your job or not quitting your job, follow it in some direction so that your heart and your purpose is being fulfilled, because that's where that's where it comes from. That's where like your heart expands and the awakening comes from and the transformations. And then you get to step into your authentic self, which allows other people get to step into their authentic self. And my God, how different this world would be if people actually were able to do that instead of hiding behind fear and hiding behind what they think that they should be doing instead of what really their heart's telling them is their truth to do. I mean, that's where addictions come from. That's where all this pain comes from. People numbing out because they know they're not living in their truth.
Amen. Preach. That was so good. Yes. That's exactly what I was looking for. That was awesome. Thank you. That's so inspiring. I'm inspiring. I mean, I'm inspired. I'm fired up right now. You got me tongue tied. That's great. Awesome. Well, okay, so why don't you, I thought it would be a good opportunity since having you on here, I thought it would be a good opportunity to maybe go into a little bit more about what EFT is, because I know, Sonya Sophia, our teacher, has been on previous episodes, but she hasn't been on in a little while. And I know we have a ton of new listeners, and I know that they've heard a bit about EFT, but do you want to just go into, more about what EFT is and how it works and what it can be used to treat?
Absolutely. So EFT, also known as tapping, is basically a mix of Chinese acupressure and modern psychology. So in our meridians, if anyone's familiar with like any of your meridian energy work, Reiki work, any of those things, we have this energy that flows through our body, right? And what happens is things, traumas, pain, hurts will happen, and those energies get trapped in our body. Well, with EFT, when we are literally tapping on different meridian points in our body, we're able to access that. And then when we speak about the thing, so if something happened to you when you were young and you have basically been storing, your parents went through a divorce, say, and you've been storing that pain in your nervous system since you were 7 years old. And you've never really spoken about it because you've grown up and you thought, I'm a grown up now. Well, the thing is, your inner child, your 7-year-old, still is in pain. So when we allow that part of yourself to speak to the pain, to speak to the trauma, to speak to the fear, and tap on those acupressure points, we allow those things to come up, and then we can send them love and acceptance. So one of the main things you'll hear when doing EFT work is, even though, and then fill in the blank, I'm in a lot of pain or I'm hurting, I love and accept myself. Just by saying those sentences that you love and accept yourself, it helps negate the negative feelings that are coming up. And then you're able to basically rewire your brain into creating the positive environment that you choose. There's a saying that it's never too late to have a happy childhood. So with EFT work, you're able to do that work. You can go back to your childhood and heal those things. You can go back to that trauma, to that event, to that night, and even just dealing with stress. So it doesn't even have to be the major traumas in life. Even if it's just managing stress at your corporate job, or if it's manifesting positive relationships, or if you find yourself having the same relationship with the same type of person, just a different face, there's probably something behind that you can use EFT to go underneath that, unroot it, and then heal it, and then create the environment and the ideas and beliefs around that you want to create that would be best for your life.
Yep. Well, that was an amazing description. It's an amazing tool. Angelique just did a wonderful job of describing it. It's done amazing things for me personally. I've talked about it on the show, and I continue to use it. So does Angelique. I mean, that's how Angelique and I have, been in touch so much recently, as we all do taps with each other to keep ourselves emotionally clean, our emotional hygiene in check. So it's really a really helpful tool. And Angelique, I know you just started your own official business, right?
I did. It's Illumina Living, to bring light into the darkness. And
beautiful.
Thank you. And so,
where can people, we'll just do this now because since we're talking about it, where can people reach out to you if they're interested in working with you or a session? Where can people find you?
Sure. They can find me at illuminaliving.com. You can just go to my website. And EFT works, you can do it in person, and then you can do it via Skype. You can do it over the phone. And then what's really great about this tool is that, you can do sessions with me or any EFT practitioner, and then you learn how to do them basically on your own, so that if you're driving in the car and you're having a bad day, or you just got into an argument with your loved one, you're able to use this tool by yourself to help reduce the amount of stress that's coming from it. So you get to carry this with you. It's a life tool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It is. And Angelique is honestly one of the best. I've done a lot of taps, and Angelique has given me some incredible taps, especially taps that could be pretty sensitive and like things that I was honestly embarrassed about or very sensitive about. Angelique is like the best at those. So, if anyone is going through anything and this calls to you, I would highly recommend reaching out to her. She just can't say enough good things. And actually, this brings up something else that I wanted to talk to you about, because this has come up before in our conversations. In our society, there's obviously a lot of suffering and a lot of pain happening in all different areas of the world, and in all different societies and communities. And something that, is pretty something that our society tends to do is to look at the victim and say, this person needs help. This person needs help. But something that our society does not do as often is, say, well, who the perpetrator or the person who has done the thing to the victim, they need help. And one could argue that person needs just as much help, if not more, and they need help. They need to heal as well. So that's something that you and I have talked about a bit. And I was wondering if you could, share your perspective on that.
Yeah, I remember that conversation, and I really do have a passion around that. Because I've come from the family where they were the ones doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And knowing where that came from. So seeing the other side of where that shadow place came from, or that darkness came from. And if there's one thing I wish we did more often, is that when we see those who are hurting others, like who's healing the hurt? Mm-hmm. Because the hurt are hurting others, and then the cycle continues, as we all know. Mm-hmm. And there doesn't seem to be that much awareness around how do we get those who are perpetrating, hurting others, violent, all of the things, those who are incarcerated, where's their help? Where are they going to get the healing so that they don't continue this pattern? Otherwise, we're not really healing anything, because they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. So I think it's important that when we're working as healers, that yes, of course, healing the victims and those who have been affected by those who are hurting. But also, I've taken on clients who also have done things that they need healing from, and they are responding that way because of what happened to them when they were young, what happened to them when they were babies and children, and this violence that they grew up with. And I've seen it in my own personal life. And I think that there needs to be more programs around that. I think that there needs to be more programs in detention centers and juvenile halls, or these kids that are already headed down that path. Like, we need to get them help so that they're not continuing what they learned from generation and generation and generation before them. That is literally in their DNA.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree. This is something that, I too have become much more aware of, and, share a bit of a passion, just especially when it came up for me, really was the Me Too movement. While I think it's amazing that, women are stepping into their power and are speaking up and are finding their voice, and, that of course, there have been some things that have been done, to women that have just been, atrocious, I'm sure. But the way that society is now kind of backlashing against men, and it's really, it feels very imbalanced to me. Like, it feels like we're just going to the opposite end now. Now we're going back towards them. And it's like, from my perspective, it's like, why do we think that they're doing this? Because that's what they've been taught. Like that's the model that they've been shown. So it's like, so when are we going to stop this cycle? When are we going to stop participating in this? You know, they're the ones who are wrong and they're the ones who are bad. It's like, we're all good. We are all good in our hearts. Any one of us that does anything that is quote unquote bad is because we've seen it, or like you said, it's in our DNA, or it's been modeled for us, you know. But it's like no child comes out of the womb and is inherently bad and on a terror about to, you know, rape and kill someone. It's like they've been so clearly disconnected. And I think you raised such a good point. It's like, who is going to heal these people? Like who is going to, and that is really where the cycle is going to stop. You know, like you said, it's not going to stop necessarily with healing the victim, although that's super important. It's going to stop when we, like you said, find the root, and the root is in, you know, what's causing these people to do these things. So I think it's so important, and I think it's so amazing that, you know, people are starting to wake up to this. And I think there needs to be more people who are willing to, like you said, like go into these kind of dark places and provide healing for these people, because they need healing too. They do.
They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a little bit have become the us and them lately with the whole movement. And it's the separation. And how do you heal if there's two sides separated and pointing fingers? You know, like I said, I'm a single mom. I have two sons. And so I'm raising these conscious young men. And I also see the pressures that men go through and young men go through that aren't really ever acknowledged. You know, it's a different environment for them. They have to be all things. They feel like they have to, you know, have the job and be tough and have the money and have the body. And it's just as much pressure for them. And never show a weakness, and never show that that it's hard for them, or never show anything emotion around that, because that makes them weak, because that's what society tells them. And then they lash out, and, you know, things are happening and they don't know how to respond, because no one's telling men it's okay if you don't know the answer. It's okay if you have emotions and you want to express them. I think there needs to be a big shift in the way we're treating everyone in the society, and not just pointing fingers at the men in our world and saying it's all your fault.
Absolutely. You know, something just popped up for me while you were saying that. I shared this story on my other podcast, Inner Bloom, which I host with one of the other listeners of this show, Ambi. But I just want to share it here because I don't know, it's relevant. That a couple weeks ago, my partner had one of his friends over, and they're both like really into the two of them are obsessed with fantasy stuff. I mean, obsessed with like Star Wars and like like video games with like magicians and like wizards and stuff. I mean, all kinds of, like, they just love that stuff, right? Obsessed with it. And they'll talk about it all day long. And while his friend was here, his friend was like, "Oh, what's up? Are you still podcasting like for Positive Head?" I was like, "Yeah, I am. But I also started another podcast. So it's been pretty cool." And he's like, "Oh, cool. What's that one about?" And because he's into all this stuff, you know, he's into all this like fantasy stuff, right? And like all this magic and stuff. I was like, "Oh, it's about," and I told him, which is essentially, I was like, "Yeah, it's, my Ambi is, she's like super clairvoyant and communicates with spirits." So I was telling him that. I was like, "Yeah, we just like talked to Gandhi." Because like I was telling him, I was like, because it's part of like my new commitment to myself that I'm just going to be who I am. Like, I'm just tired of hiding, you know? And so, but also I just knew like he's into that stuff. So like, I thought he would respond well. I don't know. And he just immediately is like, "Are you sure she doesn't need help?" And I was like, no, I'm sure. And he was kind of starts asking questions. He basically was like, kind of saying like, "Are you sure she's not crazy? Are you sure you guys aren't crazy?" And, you know, I could feel my instinct was to be like, "I'm going to show you guys." And like, you don't like, you guys sit here all day and you play these fantasy games and like, you literally are obsessed with this in like your computer world, but I'm doing this in real life. And you're like telling me I'm crazy. Like, and I felt the need to do that and kind of like instinctively to kind of lash, back at them. But then something in me was like, just relax and keep your heart open and just let it roll off your back. One, but two, I heard very distinctly, have compassion for them. And I was like, what do you mean? And his voice was like, have compassion for them. Why do you think they're so into these games? Like, why do you think they're so, because that's the only place they have permission to be into these things. Like, they're not supposed to believe just because, in our society, I think this is, and this might be seen as a generalization, but again, from my perspective, it's like in our society, like you're saying, it's like men are supposed to know everything and like have logic about everything and like use strategy and facts, and they're not really allowed to go off their intuition. Whereas women, we've been called emotional our whole lives, and it's like now I think that's why we do basically have permission to feel what's going on. We have women's intuition, right? So I got this big hit that was like, have compassion for them, like let them be in there, let them have this, and don't make it about, like see it from that perspective instead of that they're trying to attack you. Because, and I really did. And then it really made me feel almost like, okay, like I get it. And I almost felt bad. Like, oh man, like at least I'm, anyway, the point is, I think they're definitely, that was just a big kind of eye opener for me of like, I think oftentimes we take it as like they're oppressing us or they're not believing or whatever. And it's really like, we've put certain limitations on them in our society that need to be alleviated. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was having a conversation last night with a friend, and we were having this exact conversation. And he said, in my culture, we have the saying that you're not a man until you've had your heart broken a heart, kicked somebody's ass, or had your ass kicked. And I thought, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, those are the things that qualify you as a man. Wow. Like, women don't have that. And how terrible that's the mindset that you've been raised to think that equals manhood. And I think we've just gotten so far off of what it is to be the masculine, energy and the masculine power and what that looks like and what that's supposed to look like, as opposed to what it really means. We've just gone so far to the other side, with our rules of what society says as what women should be like and should be doing and what men should be and what that equals.
Absolutely. Yep. Agreed. And, it's a good thing that there's, a whole tribe of us who are kind of working towards keeping that balance and restoring that balance. And, I see it as like, we are all, no matter what your role is, if you're awake, it's kind of like you're participating in kind of, lifting this heavy load kind of like off of everybody, we're the ones transmuting this darkness into light for the others who are not, I also think that's another thing. Some of us really are judging other people, the other, and I'm victim to, or I fall into this too. It's like, sometimes I'm like, why can't you all just wake up? Like, why can't you all just know what's going on? Why am I the only one awake? And it's like, but then I've been looking at it again recently as like, it's a gift, like it's a gift that you're awake right now. You get to do this for them. Like, you get to help them in a way that even if they don't really know, it's like, that's so beautiful that, anyone who's listening to this right now, like, you get to be the transmuter, you get to be the healer for the people around you who aren't in that role right now, like who are caught up in something else right now. And that's okay. We're all exactly where we should be, but it's really cool to think about, that this tribe of people right here, like, we are doing it. Like, we are bringing light where, just like you said, Angelique, like, bringing light where there's darkness, or, and lightening the load for everyone a bit. And so, I'm just so happy you're on the show. And so, I think people are really going to resonate with you. And, there's another thing that, I wanted to mention, or I wanted you to mention, this episode is probably, I'm going to try to time it so that it releases before everyone starts taking off for Burning Man. So it'll be in a few weeks. But so you're going to do a tapping circle at Burning Man. Do you want to talk about your little workshop?
Thank you. Yes, I'm really, really excited about this. So I'm with Camp, and I'm offering the Love, Love, Love workshop, which is going to be a 2-hour workshop that will include a tapping session around the beliefs and blocks when it comes to loving ourselves and others. And then we're going to do some authenticity exercises with a partner to help really solidify the work we've done, and then end it with ecstatic dance. So I'm offering that at Burning Man on Thursday, 2 to 4, and we will be at 845 in J.
Amazing. And I will be there.
Yes, well, sister.
Yes, I will. I will be there supporting, holding space. If any of you listening, I know a lot of you are burners. So any of you burners listening, if you want to link up, I will be there. Angelique will obviously be there, and it will be an amazing workshop with a lot of good vibes and healing and release and emotional processing and connection, it sounds like. So definitely put that on your calendars and definitely try to make it out for that. Angelique, is there anything else that you feel called to share while you're here?
I would love to just share that regardless of where you are in life, that just by healing yourself, you're healing the community and you're healing the world. So even if you don't get to just take the leap and quit your job tomorrow and follow your path, if you just fall in love with yourself and heal those wounds, that you're changing the vibration of yourself and then those around you, which is really, you are a healer. Everybody's a healer. And that alone is making a huge difference and raising our vibration and changing the conversations in the way we are living. And I honor everyone who's doing that, who's willing to do the work, even when it's challenging and it seems like, oh my God, the work is never going to end. Eventually you get to this place where you're able to be the light, and that's a beautiful place to be. So for everybody on that path, I want you to know, like, keep going, keep doing the things, and listen to your heart and drop in and take action.
Beautiful. Beautiful way to wrap this up. Thank you so much, sister. That was incredible. And
thank you for having me, dear.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm going to try to put your website in the show notes, but why don't you just shout that out one more time just for people who want to connect with you?
Great. It is Illumina. So ILLUMINA living.com.
Perfect. Okay. Well, if you feel called, reach out to Angelique, and hope we see some of you at Burning Man. And besides that, we are out. So good to talk to you, Angelique.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear Brandon constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration, and if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place we know of to do it. Period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another P-Head Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.